So Sunday was jam-packed with my favorite intersection. If you follow me on Twitter, you already know it's sports and entertainment. So the Oscars happened on the same day as Selection Sunday. We're going to discuss both, especially this year's $126,000 Oscar gift bag. No cap, no joke, $126,000, and that's a 10% decrease from last year. Crazy, crazy, crazy. But also, we're introducing something new because people are going through a lot out there. So we're going to introduce Dear MoCo. We have listeners that reach out to us for their thoughts. So we're going to help them and discuss as a crew. And lastly, March memories. We got 2 more seasons to go, baby. Let's go! So, hey, Auntie, y'all already know. Shouts to Angela Bassett and the whole Wakanda Forever cast who looked amazing at the Oscars. And meanwhile, if you didn't already know that sports runs the world, Denzel and Spike Lee were over there at the Lakers game during Oscars night cutting up. I love to see them two, both diehard fans of their squads. Sports don't stop, as you can see. But we saw a lot of the athletes pull up to the after parties like LeBron James, Russell Westbrook, Adonis Creed pulled up. You already know. Again, this week has been a week for business, for entertainment, but it's also been a week for banks because there were 3 banks that failed. That was Silvergate, Signature, and Silicon Valley Bank. If you've seen SVB, that's what they're talking about, Silicon Valley Bank. So SVB had a bank run that caused billions of dollars to be put into question. But now that we know that the FDIC will insure all the depositors at SVB, and all the depositors, meaning all the people that have put money into the bank, will now at least get their money back. Well, now we're starting to see that there's a lot of mixed reactions on social media, in public. I know that some people are upset about the bailout, but I will say this. I didn't have any personal funds in SVB, but I did have a couple companies in my portfolio that got hit and were absolutely devastated. I was on the calls where people were trying to figure out, like, how was business going to happen? This is, again, before the FDIC said that they were going to insure the money for everyone that deposited. So I would personally be lying if I said I wasn't happy to see that those founders got relief. But having said all that, I hope everyone is having a good weekend. And I'm just going to tell you guys how my week has been, because kids' brains work differently nowadays, okay? So I just watched the Chris Rock special, and there's a lot of discussion about whether it was funny or not. Now, whether I laughed or not, there was something he said that I related with. He said that he identifies as poor, and I couldn't agree more, all right? Like, I definitely identify as poor, and kids, the way that they think, their brains work differently nowadays. They let me know that I think poor, and let me explain why. So I recently had an RMF basketball academy, and we had a blast. We were playing basketball. We did a shooting game, and I beat all the girls in the shooting game, so I had a blast. And I wanted to do something special at the end, so I gathered them all around. And I'm like, y'all, listen, I have something I want to tell you guys. And I'm all excited, and I'm like, I want to give you all tickets to the Atlanta Dream game. Every single one of you guys can pull up to the Atlanta Dream game. I was so hyped. I was looking around, and do you know what they had the nerve to say to me? All right. They said, will it be courtside seats? And then the other girl was like, oh yeah, I need to be on that hardwood. Now, I was shocked. Because I identify as poor, I was shocked. But then when I started to think about it, kids think differently because it's different. Like, now we have influencers that are millionaires by the age of 10. We have people that are running their own companies, entrepreneurs. If you've ever been to the Lakers game and you look courtside, you will see that people like Denzel and Spike Lee are sitting beside a couple of entrepreneurs. And so then you start to really realize that, wow, I identify as poor, and kids' brains work differently now. But I'm going to tell y'all this, period. Don't ask me for no courtside seats. The Oscars happened this past weekend. Everything was going on. Like I told you guys, my favorite intersection is sports and entertainment. And we had all of that happening this past weekend. We had the Oscars that happened on Sunday, Selection Sunday. But any thoughts from y'all on the Oscars? How'd y'all feel? Did you like it? What stood out to you?
Well, let me just start. I did not watch the Oscars. I was watching, I think, the final, the selection committee stuff, and missed the Oscars. But I always go back because I like to look at the fashion and who did what, because after last year, we had to really pay attention. You know what I mean? And and so Jimmy Kimmel, he came out there and he did his little thing and made his reference to last year, which made me a little bit more comfortable watching the clips because I really didn't want to see anything like that again. But I liked everything that from the clips that I saw. But you know, when you look on social media and people start chatting, and they talked about Angela Bassett and they said that she was a sore loser. Now, I don't know about you, but anytime I lose something, I ain't gonna be skinning and grinning. It'll take me a few minutes for it to soak in. Oh, I lost. And so I might not look as happy as I could look for the winner, but I have to get that all together before you stick the microphone up in my face. So at any rate, that's my goal on the Oscars.
Snook, you're the same generation as Angela Bassett, so I feel like that's valid because you like, look, I know that we all got cameras and everything, but I just lost on an award that I probably wanted to win. Obviously, if you in it, you want to win it.
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is Angela Bassett still hasn't won an Oscar. That was my first thought. Out of all of her iconic roles, I was like, oh wow, I can't believe that she still hasn't won an Oscar. She's very, well past deserving an Oscar. So I agree with Snook. I felt Angela Bassett and her reaction. I don't know if she, it was just real. It was real. I don't know what the reaction meant, but that was her real thoughts. And she was like, well, it seemed like if I was inside her mind, it seemed like she said, well, I gave it all I had and this is it. It's okay. Another year. It seemed like she's still not done. She got a lot up her sleeve still left. So, that's part of the argument that I don't like to address because people are like, oh, well, she still has a lot of, roles to still a lot of life basically to live and she could still win, but still so does Jamie Lee Curtis. So does everybody else, but Angela Bassett, the first thing that comes to mind is I can't believe she still hasn't won an Oscar.
Which Jamie Lee Curtis too, though. I think that was her first Oscar, if I'm not mistaken. So it's like that's why my dog Spike Lee and Denzel was at the Laker game because boy, them boy be playing, man, with their little nominations and their little awards, man. Nobody got time for that, man. LeBron them play tonight. They do it.
Okay, we already have an idea of what might happen, so it's not too far reaching to think that it's probably still not going to happen. And, you say Angela Bassett has a lot of life left to go. Why do you have to go until you're 99 years old before people recognize you for the good stuff that you've been doing all your career?
Well, we knew coming in it was going to be a 1-2 race between Angela and Jamie, but, I mean, it hurts so much. I'm telling you right now, it just hurts so much. They screwed her. And I saw both movies, and clearly Angela had the better performance out of the two.
Fighting words.
I was going to leave that part out, but that part, I watched both the movies, and let me tell you, both of them were good. The other movie, a little bit more. But that one was a little bit more weird on a weirder side. Now, Jamie Lee Curtis, she did kill the part. I'm not going to take that from her. She killed the part, but it wasn't Oscar worthy. I'm sorry.
Ah, man, y'all doing that. Don't do that to sis. Look, she had to play herself. She had to play with the hot dog finger. She had to play a boss. She had to play a villain. She had to learn karate. I mean, I know we wanted Angela Bassett to bring one home, but sis was in the trenches training for that everywhere all at once. So
I think for Jamie Lee Curtis, I think there were other roles that would have been better suited for her to win an Oscar. I'm just saying this was a different role that she's played, but this wasn't her best. I don't feel like this was her best role for her to win it. I feel like this was like, okay, we got to give her one. This is the one I want to give her.
I have a question then. Is this the role that we will remember Jamie Lee Curtis for?
No.
Absolutely not. I forgot that she was even in the movie. To be honest with you.
Is this the role that you will remember Angela Bassett for?
No, that's what I'm saying. Exactly. To that sentiment as well. It's Training Day and it's Swordfish, which I remember Halle Berry for, and Denzel.
No, it was Monsters Ball, wasn't it? Monsters Ball.
Oh, Monster Ball. Yeah, Monster Ball. I remember my boy Malcolm X. You feel me? I remember Sis and Boomerang.
I got you. I understand what you're saying, but I'm saying for them to say that this was the role they wanted to give it to her for, I'm like, no, it's
Name
not.
another performance she did that's better than this one.
Halloween.
That's just a horror. That's a horror film.
I actually associate her with horror films for some reason.
She is the
actually.
queen of horror. I will say
She
that.
is.
But it ain't no range in them horror movies besides high and goddamn I'm gonna kill you back.
She did True Lies. She
Now,
had a
that's
whole
a
bunch
good
of
one.
other.
That's a
She
good
had
one.
See, that
True
one you-
Lies. She actually, I think that was one of her better acting.
But
she
who was
acted-
nominated that year with True Lies? Who else was nominated?
I'm not sure.
So here's the real question then. Why do people not win awards when they have their best performances?
Because they giving the older people these one-offs because they want to give them one on out the door instead of giving it for what they should. So they're like, oh, Jamie Lee, she's like, how old? Oh, we never gave her one. Let's give her one. Whereas there might be a younger person with a much more deserving role, but because they got to wait their turn because they doing foolishness like this. That's how it works.
I just will say that Will Smith said that The Pursuit of Happiness he thought was his best performance. Like
now, who did he get beat by?
Right, and this they stuff anyway. This they stuff. If Renee Montgomery have an award show every week, we can't get mad when she choose Beyonce as the queen every year. This your awards. This Oscar now. Exactly, this Oscar awards. You don't give a damn about Oscar. Don't pull up to Oscar awards.
I think this goes back to, and I compare it to sports a lot because it's very subjective, one. And in sports, you always want to play and you want your game to be refereed correctly. And so the referees get in there and they change it. And sometimes things don't come out like you want. So in the Oscars, it's the same thing. It's very subjective. And these people are looking at you. And so you have to go with what they say. And, and it might not necessarily be what's right, but that's what you have to go with.
This is like Steve Nash winning the MVP over Shaquille O'Neal. This is like
exactly. It's like the Joker winning the MVP the last 2 years, possibly 3 in front of Joel Embiid.
That's why people probably aren't watching it like they're watching it now. They used to, because everybody just feels like, well, it doesn't actually mean this is your best performance. So whatever y'all choose, we'll see whatever literally, I didn't even want to know who won what. I just want to see what people had on.
No, the fashion is I'm not gonna lie, the fashion, how people pull up, even the athletes pulled up to the after party. Shouts to Savannah James. She shut down the internet when she came in the all white. LeBron pulled up too. We saw Russell Westbrook, his wife, pull up. We saw a lot of the couples pulling up after the game.
We saw Sierra in the mother trucking building.
Speaking of the married women, like Sierra, I saw Hailey Bieber out. Like Renee said, Savannah James was out. It seemed like all of the women kind of stepped out solo. All of the married women. Justin Bieber was left at home. LeBron James was left at home. I was kind of liking it. I was like, okay, I like. They said, I want to go to the party. You don't have to go with me, but I still want to go. And they went and they showed out.
I'm glad that you like that, because maybe you should do that. Maybe you should do that. Y'all heard this. I'm so glad we're recording. I want this clip. It's like that commercial on the Bring the Rewind back, because when I don't be wanting to go out, she be acting like we are a package deal.
Nobody likes to go out by themselves. I'm sure they had a friend with them.
Oh, yes. Oh, no. They definitely had a friend with them. It's just the friend. We don't care about the friend. We cared about them. That's what it was.
It's nothing new, Sam. Don't feel bad. This has been going on all of her life.
Yeah,
It's
I
been
don't
a
like to leave the
struggle.
house. Listen,
It's a struggle.
Juju said he'll pull up, but listen, I'm going to explain to you guys. I am a homebody. It is a noun. It is a person who likes to stay at home, especially one who is perceived as unadventurous. Call me Mrs. Unadventurous, all right? Because I like the vibes at the house. Juju, you've been to the crib. I work all the time, yes. What I do for fun is work on our stuff. Yeah, so I do work on top of work on top of work, but I like this place.
She worked so much so she recently shot something with and they were doing like a little profile about her, like they were following her around and stuff, and they were like, okay, so what do you like to do for fun? And she literally went blank. She was like, well, work from home. I don't really do anything for fun. It was so hard to find something fun to do.
Well, first of all, the things that, because they said, like, do you ride bikes or do you go do yoga? And I'm like, whoa, okay, let's all calm down here. I pull up to the movies. We binge watch here. My friend can pull up here. We had a Super Bowl party here, but they wanted an activity that they wanted to see me doing. And it's like, I just don't participate in those type of things. What do y'all do for fun that's active? Like, you know what I mean?
I feel you. I don't do
for
nothing
real.
for fun. I ain't had fun since 2018.
There's selective amount of people, a handful of people who doing all this hiking and riding, biking, and people working out. I mean, people probably working out's probably the most consistent thing other than just, working and living. I mean, I could say I like being a bus driver. All I do is drive children around all day, but that's not something it's an activity I do, but I don't enjoy it. I mean, it gets to be something different. Yeah, it's adulting.
I'm like in my grind mode where half of my life is spent in New York because I'm covering March Madness. And then there's a certain portion of that time that's spent at Turner. And then I'm calling NBA games in the metaverse. I got one tonight, which was 2 days ago when you're listening to this, but I'm in my kind of grind mode. So I'm not even actually concerned with having fun. That might sound crazy, but like, I'm not really interested in having fun right now. I'm trying to get there.
All Renee's trying to do is just sit down on the couch and put her feet on the table. That's me relaxing and having fun.
We got to move on. All right.
Well, let me just say one thing before we move on. I think I said it before about the Academy Awards. I think I got kind of a good inside vision of how things usually turn out with the Academy Awards when I was in college. And I think I told you that when Lady Sings the Blues went up against Showboat, we had a big party in my room. I was a counselor on college, and we just knew that Diana Ross was going to get the Best Actress for Lady Sings the Blues because, in my opinion, I saw both then, and I thought she did some acting in that movie. And when they announced the winner and they said Liza Minnelli, we were in our room for 3 days and didn't leave because it really devastated us that people could be so blind. And so ever since then, I've had a bad place in my heart for the Academy Awards.
Look, Tom Cruise ain't even get nominated for Top Gun. So all this just goofy. You feel me?
But listen, we got to move on, okay? Like, we're going to move on because we could talk about the Oscars all day. We're going to talk real quick about the Oscar swag bags because I am just so shocked at how much money is inside of these swag bags for this event. All right, so this year's swag bag is valued at $126,000. And when I saw that, I was like, whoa. But then I went and looked at the past swag bags. Let me start at 2019. $176,000. 2020, $261,000. 2022, $235,000. 2023, $126,000. All right, so you guys, just think about that for a second about how much money is going into these swag bags.
What's in it? What's in it? That's what we want to know. What is in it?
Since 2002, there was an LA-based marketing company called Distinctive Assets that distributed out the unofficial six-figure Everybody Wins gift bag to the Oscar nominees in the 4 main acting categories. So just remember, it's not for everybody. It's for the acting nominees in the 4 main categories as well as Best Director. All right, so this founder, he said the thing about his bags are, obviously, and this is a quote, obviously the nominees can afford to go where they want, says Ferry. It's not about the fact that this is free. It's about the fact that we found a unique place that's built-in privacy for the celebrities. So they have things in their swag bags like
a trip to Santa Lucia.
There you go. There you go. So this is where we're starting to get into the things inside the swag bags. Plastic surgery is on the table, okay?
Yeah, that's in every bag, though.
Yeah, because everybody needs a butt.
Distinctive assets, huh?
Well, speaking of, since we talked about it last week, we talked about Blac Chyna. She's actually removing hers. She's actually removing from her butt and from her boobs. She's getting removed, as well as I think there's a couple other people that are doing the same thing for health reasons.
Because they're melting. They're melting at the top. They're melting at the bottom. They're melting on their face. They're melting everywhere. So, I mean, seriously, we knew this was going to happen. But see, here's the problem. You have people like Black China. You have all these people who can afford to have all this surgery to correct all these, I call them botched surgeries, all these botched surgeries where they correct and take out and reshape and reframe. Then you got little old people like me who barely took their 2-3 years worth of savings, went down somewhere, put something in there, and then almost on their deathbed because they can't afford to get taken out unless they're on their deathbed. They go to the emergency room and they say, we're going to have to remove this today.
I can't believe you're this passionate about this,
because you know why? Let me tell you why. Let me tell you what pushed that to the forefront of my mind is you had people going to Mexico. 4 people went to Mexico, 1 person to get some type of surgery done. 2 people pass away. And one of the guys said he didn't even want to go. He was just going for his, his girl's support, whatever, family member for support. Well, whoever she was to him, support. My point is that it pushes it to the forefront because you have these people going to other countries who can't afford these surgeries and they're having bad complications, almost dying to even get the surgery. And so I feel like, we knew this was going to happen, but the people who are celebrities who can afford to do it, I don't care if you want to do it. You do it if you want to. I just feel bad for the ones who feel like they have to do it to be someone and they have an adverse effect. So
everybody does it. Maybe some people do it to look good, not in clothes, but some people do it to look good in clothes. And so, you have to kind of weigh the options there.
You're not talking about the people who are putting that fix-a-flat tires slime into their, into the assets, I should say.
It's like the iPhone 2 came out and hey, a lot of folks jumped and bit at the iPhone 2, but then the iPhone 7 came out. They were like, dang, I bought that 2, but this time that 2 in your ass. So it's like, dang, well, how do you correct it? So my thoughts and prayers to everybody who got the iPhone 2 booty.
Are y'all finished or are y'all done? All right, like no.
That 13 is out now.
That 13. I found you, Miss New Booty. Get it together and bring it out. All right, so listen, back to what was in the swag bag. I'm about done with this already. Basically, there was a 3-day trip. You could go to Canada. There was a little resort place. They give you 2 cars, a 965 Shelby AC Cobra, a 427 Roadster, and a 2023 McLaren are there.
Wow.
Yeah, those cars are there waiting on you. Yes, this is in the swag bag. You get a 3-day trip. They got those cars waiting on you. There's also...
Wait a minute, are those cars theirs to keep?
Not to keep. They're just there for the 3 days.
Oh,
they're
that's
part
right.
of the property that you can use and, get your photo shoot on, get your video shoot on, or just drive around town. But all the gifts don't have to be expensive. There's some gifts that goes with causes. There's coconut water that's in there. There's exclusive chocolate that's in there. There's different things. It's not all about price. The guy said it's about what's the best feel for the package.
Well, before you sign me up for some acting lessons, then, if that's what the bag got in it.
See, that's what we need to be doing.
Hey, speaking of that, really quick, there was one of the ladies in Wakanda, or in Black Panther, the movie. She was 93 years old in my acting class, and the first role that she ever got casted for was for one of the royal court people in Wakanda in the Black Panther movie.
How crazy is that?
Yes, she was all over the news and everything, and I was like, oh my God, that's a lady from my acting class. She literally started taking it at like 93 years old.
Never too late.
Coming up next, we have Dear MoCo, and I'm going to ask, it's kind of touchy, but how much money is too much money to spend on self-care? Oh, we talk about it next. Dear MoCo, y'all might not know this, but people value our thoughts and our opinions, so much so that people write emails to our info page and different things of that nature. And this one really stood out to me because I thought it was interesting. And also, we're going to start doing this, by the way, you guys. So if you guys are in a situation, we know life is a lot. We got a lot of different generations sitting right here on this call, different people that came from different backgrounds. Hit us up, Dear MoCo, because we're going to do exactly what we're about to do right now. All right, so this is what I received. It's pretty quick, simple. Okay, so this is our Dear MoCo. Okay, so me and my partner have a bank account together, of course, to pay our bills, to pay our mortgage. We live together. But recently, there's been $200 here or there every month that keeps going missing. And when I ask what he spent it on, he says self-care and he doesn't want to talk about it.
What?
Yeah, break up. That's a break up right there.
Y'all are living together.
Strike three.
I mean,
It's over. Over.
You got a better excuse to that. Ain't no damn. I don't want to talk about it. Excuse me, sir.
But it's for his self-care. So wait, y'all are skipping over a very big part. Self-care is a real thing. And if he's like, I don't necessarily want to talk about it, but it's for my self-care, y'all don't care about his self-care?
No. You know what else self-care? His wife.
Yeah.
His wife better. That's self-care. Keep her happy.
That man's probably going to Magic City. He's not spending that money on wings.
No, but you threw me off when you said he, because I'm like, I thought it was going to be the woman spending the $200.
No, he's working. He said he's working on himself. So.
Sis, if you listening, divorce him.
I just have a question. So here's my thing, because I don't think they've delved into this enough. If I can't visibly see your self-care, like if you don't come in with your eyebrows manscaped and your haircut line every single time and your jawbone is squared up. Well, then, I mean, if he's working on his mentals, then that shouldn't be a secret. Oh, I'm going to go see a psychiatrist, and it should be going through our insurance company. We should be seeing something off of that copay. So that's that. I would know that. So this $200 is what are we doing with it now?
Day shift. Day shift.
$200 a month. That man better be coming out looking like Jonathan Majors.
When I heard self-care, I didn't actually think physical. I instantly thought mental when I saw self-care. So I actually thought I was bringing in a mental conversation. But it's very, self-care could be getting your haircut, like a lot of, who was it? Jason? No, who just had a podcast that was out? Paul George said, of course you got to pay your barber a minimum of $100 for a haircut.
Okay,
Come on now.
I want to hear Paul George do that, but no, exactly. Paul George, salute to you, brother. But you don't want to hear about you on that. Your contract worth ... You feel me? Don't do that. I got a hot $40 in my pocket right now for my damn lineup. Exactly.
You right. I mean, he's right. And you know what? And it's okay to spend $200. If you say, okay, I need $200 because I like to go out with my boys on whatever, and that's my mental health, my self-care is me getting away, having a couple drinks with my friends. And if you do that once a month, that's easily $200 if you want to do drinks and maybe appetizers. So I get that, but just say that. I don't understand what the whole secrecy of it. I think that's the part that's making it.
Right? That's the part also. Why not talk about it?
Yeah, well, do guys talk about self-care? I feel like, is that like...
Yes, we do. If we got a girlfriend...
self-care.
That's what it is. It's the, I don't want to talk about it for me.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
That's where you fucking up. I mean, messing up. Exactly. Just be like, oh shit, I like going to the strip club every month. Once a month, please, can I just get that for myself, baby?
That's what I'm saying. Just be upfront. Just be real.
What does that do for you,
I like that honesty.
How does that invigorate you? What does it do for you?
I'm talking about this brother. I'm talking about this brother. Me, I'm good at the house.
But that's the whole point. That's the question that he needs to answer. It's like, I don't care what you're doing. If you say it to me once, you don't have to say it again. But at least I need to know. Like,
yeah, because maybe he doesn't want to have a conversation. It's like, I don't want you to ask me how my self-care went, or he don't want you to ask him how his night went. If I go out with the boys, don't ask no questions. Like, that's
and to answer your question, Snook, it don't invigorate me at all. That's why I challenge all the listeners out there. If you got a picture or a memory of ever seeing me in the strip club, tag the show and you got $100 coming your way. Because I don't even go that way. You feel me? Those strippers, they got more money than me. So what the hell I look like going to the strip club, throwing my little skrillings at them? Boy, she make $4,000 a night. Well, she don't want that hot ass $30.
No, but hold on. But what is the verdict? What advice are we actually telling her?
I'm gonna just sum it up from what I've heard from the crew and adding a little bit of my thoughts. Basically, the problem is not with the self-care or the $200, my dear. The problem is that your partner doesn't want to discuss with you what it's for. So I think we're all in agreement that getting a little self-care here or there, ain't nothing wrong with that. Like, that's what's up. Take care of you. You got to be the best you for her.
And Juju and I, our advice is break up with him.
Break now, stat, yesterday.
I say have a conversation. Sit down, and people got to set their boundaries. If they're living together, there's certain boundaries that you got to set for each other, and certain things that are not passable. And if you guys are living together, and I think that some stuff like secrecy doesn't really flow.
Well, yeah, because next time I go out, babe, don't ask me nothing about it. Like, I like that this is what people are out here doing, because if this is what folks is out here. I like to hear how other people are living, because I be thinking if I was ever in that scenario, it's a comedy. That question is a comedy. If I said to Serena, don't ask me. Look at her. If I said to that woman sitting right there, I'm going out with Lisa, and don't ask me nothing else about it.
Then she gonna call me, and I'll be like, if you walk out there, and I'm gonna call Lisa and be like, Lisa, if you take her out that door, we gonna have a bigger problem. You have a bigger problem than just her.
Just at least do this. Say, okay, cool. Well, $200 for me once a month as well, and don't ask me what I got going on.
All right, so Dear MoCo, y'all. For March memories, we already covered my freshman and sophomore year, and right after this, we're going to cover my last years at UCONN, baby. If you didn't listen to last episode, go back and listen. We covered my freshman and sophomore year, and now we're going to get into the things that stood out in my junior and senior year, because the reason that I'm having Snook kind of lead the way is because she remembers things completely different than I remember them, because I'm in the moment. I'm locked in on scouting reports. I'm locked in on my assignment. I'm locked in on my plays. What do I need to do? How's my body feeling? And I might miss some of the other things. And I also might just forget what happened in the game because I'm worried about the next play. So Snooka Booka, what happened my junior year that stood out to you?
Given that when you go to UConn, you were expecting to win a championship. And so now we're down to the junior year, and we haven't been successful in the first 2 years. So the heat is on. And we had a really good year that year, and we ended up going to the Final Four that year instead of the Elite Eight the previous 2 years. And so we went to Tampa, Florida, and Nicole flew in. I think Nashay flew in, and we were going to be there for the big dance and the party. And so there's several things happened that year. First of all, Renee was selected as an All-American for the first time. And so we got a really big kick out of that. That was before the actual final game. And so we were in a celebratory mood then.
They were. I'm going to tell you right now, they were, because I definitely couldn't have been, because I was still worried on, we got to phase one now. Finally, we at the Final Four. But go ahead, Snook.
We're down there, and we win our first, all of our tournament games down to the final game. And what was strange about this game is that we've always been a little bit afraid of Stanford, not because of the skills that their team had, but that size. That size was hard to beat from, 1 to 5. They were big from 1 to 5. And so we knew that was going to be a challenge. And so we gave it our best shot. We played hard, and we lost that game 71-82. So that was not a real happy period for us.
Yeah, no. Well, so Snook is speaking from her angle, because when I think about how we matched up, I didn't really care about their size, because we had Tina Charles and Callie McLaren, and we had some dogs on our side. The thing about it is, though, Stanford, there's a lot of teams that aren't as disciplined as us at that time. Like, we were militant. Like, when I tell you, it's like, I know where Mama gonna be. I know where TT gonna be. I ain't even got to look. It's like we were that much practice that we kind of were the most disciplined team. But then there was Stanford, who also had this crazy high level of discipline. So we knew it was going to be a chess match, honestly. Look at the coaches that were coaching. Look at the players. That's when Candace Wiggins was there and all of them. So, yeah, they had a squad.
And in her junior years, when they established the Big Three, Maya Moore, Tina Charles, and Renee Montgomery, they were considered the Big Three for UConn.
You see, I like to hear it from Snook's point of view, because Renee never tells me these things. Renee doesn't like to talk about her accomplishments. So this is nice to hear.
From the moment we lost to Stanford till the senior year started, everybody on our team literally became psychotic. And I mean in the best way possible, like psychotic, obsessive, whatever word you want to use for athletes that don't know that off switch. You know, they call it the Mamba mentality. Like Kobe kind of coined it because his whole career, he was on the on switch. Who does that? That's wild. But this year, in between my junior year and the start of my senior year, and I'm talking preseason and all of that, I recently was at UCONN for women's weekend, and I literally gave my whole talk. Everything I talked about was about the end of that junior year to when the senior year started, because I've never been that disciplined in my life. Even still to date, I've never had an off season like that in my life. I've never been on a team to date, and I've been on other championship teams, but I've never been on a team that had from top to bottom every single person as locked in on the same goal, on the same mission, was as disciplined, sacrifice. Like, I mean, it was only my senior year, but to have the seniors, Tina Charles was a junior when I was a senior, Maya Moore was a sophomore when I was a senior. So they still had other opportunities, but it was the craziest part of my life. We called it getting that 2%. We had preseason wars where, you know, like we were doing training that I'm telling you, special forces that shows on TV, we could have been up in there. I'm not saying we could have done it, but we could have been up in there. But that series of my life pretty much defined my life on like how to be 2% better than every other athlete, that 2% difference effort, because only 2% of athletes go pro. It has to be that upper echelon. But that's what happened in between my junior and senior years.
Just saying is it all starts with your mentality, basically. If you want to win, you gotta have that mentality. You gotta train your mind. That's gonna train your body. It's gonna train everything. Because like you said, it started in that off season.
It was that off season. It was like we were a completely different team. Like after we lost, it was like that was it. Like everybody was kind of like, man, this is crazy. Like we lost in the Elite Eight, Final Four. We finally got to the Final Four, and then we got bounced out right away again. Like we was just like, we was tired of losing. Like I was like, nah, we are tired of losing. It was like the craziest thing. And then that period of my life taught me how to be a certain level of discipline that now, as we just mentioned, I don't even know how to have fun no more. Like I know how to get stuff done. No, I can tell you that. Like I know how to get it done. But yeah, so that was that period of my life.
The 2009 season was the do or die season, as Renee just mentioned. And I thought it was so admirable that the press and everyone were kind of on board, and they were letting them know at every turn and every article, man, is this team going to let somebody get out of here and not have a championship at UConn? And that was the state that Renee was in. Was she going to leave UConn without that glorified championship? So as she said, everybody was focused and tuned in. I remember at one of the press conferences they had, they were talking to Gino, and he was saying, yeah, he was riding, he was heading it up, riding. And Renee said, yeah, and I'm riding shotgun this year. So she was letting them know that she was going to try to make sure that she got that championship. And he kind of stressed too in all of his press conferences that, this team needed to do this for Renee. He really put the iron to him about, doing everything they could to be as good as they could be.
I like how Snook refers to the coach, Gino Auriemma, as just Gino. She's like, yeah, Gino, I'm like, that's Coach Auriemma.
We had a good relationship. You must remember. You must remember he came to West Virginia to talk to us about Renee, so we had a good relationship with Gino. The season started out great. They were rolling, and that was their undefeated season. So every game became more pressure because I'm undefeated. Like in the beginning, it's not such a big deal, but when you get down to like near the Big East tournament, and all of that, and you're still undefeated, you get a little bit queasy because you're always worried, will this be the game that causes me my first L in the column?
Yeah, and really, I'm going to tell you my thoughts. It's like, all right, we're undefeated. There's a lot of games, like at UConn, I think that they just told me at CBS, we lost 11 total games my whole UConn career, right? So it doesn't seem like a lot of games when you look at other schools and how many games they lose. Some schools lose 11 games in one season, but 11 games for UConn, now you can hear how it's not about how many games you lose. It's like which game you lose. So imagine us going undefeated, and then you hit that March Madness where it's the Wild Wild West, the Cinderella's ready to dance and all this other stuff, and you can't lose that first game after going undefeated all season. So that's kind of like my thought process on like, Lord, like, all right, this undefeated stuff is cool and all, but don't nobody care. Like, like don't nobody care if you lose the wrong game. So
I got sick of hearing, they're beating everybody by 50. This is not, I heard a lot of hateration, a lot of crying, a lot of whining, because Renee and them was going out there and putting the pedal to the metal and beating teams by 50, 55. And they were just like, what's the purpose of watching the games? And I was like, well, don't watch them then. We still going to win. Regardless if you turn TV on or not, this tail whip about to happen. So I remember them winning. I was happy about them winning, about being undefeated, but that was the biggest bunch of crying I have ever heard about a season. I mean, it was almost like the Patriots type crying, like they win every year. And I'm gonna tell you, I was a Patriots crier until that year, Renee, and then was beating everybody by 50. And I was like, I will never cry about the Patriots again because this is annoying. It's annoying. So, so it's a well-deserved team. They're winning. What you mad about? So then that changed my whole perspective about being a hater, because the networks, the teams, the fans, the parents, the coaches, and then everybody want to do an investigation. Something's going on. How are they doing this? And how can a team that lost last year beat every team by 50? Because they wanted to. Because they wanted to.
It's funny you bring up something too, Cole, where that, like, so my senior year started the streak. So everybody knows about the UCONN streak, where UCONN didn't lose a game for like, I can't even remember how many games, but there was a years long worth of streaks. Well, my senior year started the streak, and that's where the conversation, to Cole's point, began of, is UConn good for women's basketball? A lot of people started asking the question, like, is one team being so good or dominating so much, is that good for the sport? We know now that there's so much parity. You have these markets that are huge in women's college basketball. The Iowas of the world selling out on College game day with Caitlin Clark. And then you have Notre Dame, who's holding it down. We obviously know South Carolina is a monster house. And then you still have the UConns, who are powerhouses as well. So my senior year started that whole streak of, I think, 3 years or 4 or how many ever years where they didn't lose. And that began that conversation of, is that good for women's basketball?
Well, Coach said it. He said, y'all see me play. I've been playing the same way since I started. I do the same thing. We don't do anything different. He was like, they had to do something different. He wasn't going to change his game so the air balls can catch up. He was saying the air balls had to do something different to get there. So I was just like, yeah, stop the whining. So what? We beat you by 50. Let's move it on. So that was a year I remember a lot of whining, a lot of cheering, a lot of hating.
It's funny how people think of things different, but Snook, let's get to the senior year real quick so we can get through that. But it's funny how y'all do remember, everybody remembers different things.
Okay, great season, undefeated, as we said. And Renee had 2 great games in one of those. And listen, let me thank our crew for finding that clip last time of her at the Duke game. It brought back such memories, because I remembered exactly how it occurred. But anyway, during her senior season, she had good games, but had a great game at North Carolina that year. And I think the sports writer for the Harvard Courant, his name is evading me right now. But anyway, he had a great clip and said if Renee had been a man that night, she would have graduated and been a first-round draft pick and had drove away with $5 million, been all, or whatever, because it was a great game. And they played at North Carolina. She had 30 points. I can't remember the rest of the stats, but it was a great game, and they had some great clips from that. And she also had a great game now toward the end with Arizona State University.
Oh, that's Brianne January, isn't it? That's Brianne January and their squad. Yeah, that was a crazy year. That was also the year where Coach Ariema and the whole UConn staff and team, they all conspired against me to not tell me that that I was going into the Huskies of Honor and that I was going to be the first player to get inducted into the Huskies of Honor while I was playing. So that happened. That's like one of my biggest memories from my senior year, because that happened on, what was that? That happened on, was it senior night? No, it wasn't senior
You
night.
were playing
The
Pittsburgh.
pink game versus Pittsburgh with
It's so
Shavonte
crazy how
Zealous.
they remember every detail.
Crazy,
That's amazing.
crazy. Yeah, and so I just remember my senior year that Coach Auriemma, like, you know, to have me be the first player to be inducted into the Huskies Hall of Fame with all these other names, Swin Cash, Rebecca Lobo, Diana Taurasi, all of them.
Well, let me just tell you a real quick story about that. So Gino called here and said that he wanted to surprise Renee with this banner, and he didn't want her to know. He said because she's so nosy, she tries to find out everything. And so he said someone won't be calling us to get it set up. And so anyway, they put a black cloth over top of it. They installed it and they hung a big cloth up there over it. And so Renee is calling me and saying, do you know what this is all about? And she said, people are saying, asking her, the reporters, does she know anything about it? And she said, no. So anyway, she was so shocked when in that game, when she looked around and her entire family was there, because she had called that morning. It was on a Sunday, because she knows we go to church on Sunday. And she had called to see if we were at the house. She knew we weren't coming to that game. So maybe we didn't know what was going on, because she said she was bombarded about questions about what was under that black cloth. And so she said, oh, it's not us, because they would have let me know so my parents would be there. But at any rate, right after I hung up from her, we was headed to the airport and we flew in that day, and she had no idea. She was just so shocked. Matter of fact, when they unveiled it, she turned around to Coach Auriemma and said, you should have told me, because I would have told my family so they could be here. And he turned around and told her to look.
He said, turn around. And I was like, what? And then the whole family started walking back. So that's...
It was different states of family. It was West Virginia, Maryland. It was...
Yeah, it was everybody that came through. So that's kind of what I remember my senior year. As you guys know, we went on to win a championship. We played Louisville.
First time is two teams in the same conference in the women's game had played each other.
Yeah, so we played Louisville, who was our Big East, Angel McCautry, and then Angel McCautry and I both graduated that year. She was our number 1 draft pick of my class. I was the number 4 pick, and the rest was history.
After all of that was over and they won, the biggest highlight of all was we got to meet President Obama. Come on now. That was, we can't leave that out. We got to go meet President Obama. That was really like, whoa.
Yeah, we're going to have to save that for another day. We're going to talk about how Snook got flagged by the Secret Service and wasn't allowed to go into the White House. This really happened. We'll talk about it next time. March Madness, we all know we're talking about it, and as fans, we're all excited. But there's only going to be one men's team that wins and one women's team that wins. So that's a lot of different losers that we're going to see. People that are going to be sad. And no, I'm not calling you guys losers. I'm saying I was a loser for 3 years because I didn't win. But I digress. I just want to say, may the odds be ever in your favor, because I remember that energy. I remember that feeling of, I can't wait till I'm done with media. I can't wait till I'm done with practice. I can't wait till I'm done with all of these things so I can get to the game and play. So one word of advice is to just take it all in, because the tournament is like nothing else. It's no feeling like it. That's why we call it March Madness. As y'all know, here at MoCo, it's a generational thing, and so is winning. So may the odds be ever in your favor.